So this is out of character, but one of the things that I've been doing recently that's pretty fun is watching some of the responses to the massive sweep that the Democrats hit the Republicans with in the recent elections. There's like most famously, of course, Mamdani became mayor of New York, and there's a huge meltdown over that. And I say that as someone who's not a particularly big fan of him. I'm not a democratic socialist. I'm certainly on the left. I'm certainly a liberal, but I'm very much a liberal. I'm not really a leftist, but I'm more than happy to join alongside leftists to fight this current administration. But one of my favorite things to do is just watch the absolute meltdown of people, of Fox News pundits, of commentators just completely losing their head. I want to give a listen to what Megyn Kelly has to say about the situation. Megyn Kelly, of course, one of the big heavy hitters within the conservative MAGA world. She dressed up as a trash bag for Halloween, I believe, 2 years ago, to spite the Democrats. I forgot what the context of that was, but if you're curious what Megyn Kelly would look like as trash, here it is. And so we're gonna watch her video, just like the first quick 10 minutes of this. It's an hour and four. I'm not gonna watch an hour and 40 minutes of Megyn Kelly, but we're gonna watch the first 10 minutes because that's where most of the juicy stuff is. So we're gonna watch it together. We're gonna have a watch along, and let's give it a listen.
Last night was a total and complete disaster. I realized these were blue states. I don't care. The margins are so large, and Republicans lost across the board, everywhere, in every race. There's really no good news. Literally, the only good news is how radical the Democrats are and how Mamdani will now be the poster child for every Republican to use against his opponent. I mean, they'll all have to explain where they stand on Mamdani as he wrecks New York. The Republican Party needs to get it together ASAP. I'm really glad we spent the past couple of weeks, as Sean Davis of The Federalist put it, policing some young person's group chat, what a podcast host said, and what the head of a think tank over at Heritage had to say. I'm really glad that the Republicans devoted so much time to that. That was a great move. Terrific move.
Yeah, I'm glad too, because we're talking the texts that she's referring to, by the way, are actual like racist, disgusting texts. You have some guy saying that he loves Hitler in those texts, and then you have Tucker Carlson interviewing Nick Fuentes, who's an outright white nationalist. The Republican Party, you cannot, or like this MAGA crowd, I should say, to be more specific, you cannot make the argument anymore that, well, the left is just calls everything racist. No, Tucker Carlson legitimately had Nick Fuentes on his program. Nick Fuentes, the leader of the Kuipers, is effectively in control of the cultural power of the GOP, of the MAGA crowd at this point. So you cannot make the argument anymore. This is something that if you actually do care about alleviating racism within this country, making sure that it doesn't exist, if you actually care about those issues, then this should be something that you're focusing on.
In Virginia, it was a nightmare too. All right, that's 3 F-bombs in the first 7 minutes. My apologies. Nightmare. Democrat Abigail Spanberger won. That was no surprise. Winsome Earl Sears was losing. She came on here, spewed a bunch of about her internal polls. Bull. She got crushed by about 15 points. It wasn't even close. And amazingly, as predicted by MK Media's own Mark Halperin, Spanberger's victory was so large, she easily got that absolute vile attorney general candidate, Jay Jones, over the hump. He won. Those texts came out about him wanting to kill Republicans for being Republicans and their children so that Republicans would have to suffer. A position on which he doubled and then tripled down in writing and by voice via a telephone call to a Republican, to somebody he knew would not share his views, who kept hanging up on him and trying to end the conversation. He kept doing, he means it. And the Virginia voters said, we're good. Yeah, he's fine by us. Sure. He defeated Jason Miyares, the Republican, by 6 points.
There's two things that I want you guys to notice right there. There's two things that she did that she either knows she is lying about, or she knows she's being mischievous about, or she is legitimately that dumb or that angry to the point where she can't recognize that she's saying that she's contradicting herself. Remember at the beginning of the video where she said that she was upset that so many Republicans, so many people who should have been focused on the real issues of the day were instead focusing on, like, you know, being on Tucker Carlson's podcast. They were too busy focusing on all of these unhinged texts, these disgusting loving texts by the young Republicans. They're too busy focusing on the Heritage Foundation. Let's ignore all of that and focus on real politics. So remember that she said that at the beginning. And then now, when it comes to the Democrats and when it comes to Jay Jones, she's upset that people didn't stand on principle and refused to vote for him because of how disgusting of a person he is. So for some reason, the standards of ethics, the standards of decency, should only be applied to Democrats, but not to her. You're complaining that people are even trying to create some level, some purity test on the Young Republicans chat on what's going on within the GOP. But then when it's Jay Jones, someone who, by the way, didn't text the things that she's saying he texted, it was a disgusting text, and I, I disavow and I think it's gross what he did, what he said. This was 3 years ago. He apologized for it. She wants there to be standards, standards of ethics when it comes to the other side, but no standards of ethics when it comes to their own side. And unfortunately, this type of rhetoric works. If you only watch Fox News, if you only watch Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, like this rhetoric works for you. But luckily, it's not working for the people in the middle. It's not working for people who are still on the fence for whatever reason they're still on the fence. And we see this in polling. And we see this in the results of this election. People are tired of these people just making shit up, just lying, just trying to, they're literally criticizing the other side for doing the same exact things that they're doing. The only difference is that when they do it so much worse. And I would argue so much better in the sense that it's a lot more effective. Remember, someone literally went to prison for a Charlie Kirk meme, the most milquetoast benign meme imaginable. Someone went to prison for over a month for that. Had to stay there. Couldn't get bailed out because the bond was set at $2 million. $2 million. Pocket change for Megyn Kelly, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, I think the pendulum has certainly swung in the other direction when we're talking about what side is filled with snowflakes, what side is filled with people who are completely incapable of recognizing a joke as being just that, a joke. So, I guess pendulum political theory is true, and it's in full force out right now. The only change that I would add to that analysis is that when the right engages in cancel culture, when the right engages in this censorial attitude that they were constantly criticizing the left for engaging in, when the right does it, it's so much worse.